Hello, welcome to part two of Nostradamus' Mabus, identified and defined. Inherent in the word gays are all of the overt codes to black reparations. We have a 56 for 1956. We have a 105. The 56 would be 56 billion. It starts with 35 billion. Christmas 2011 goes up to 56 billion in Christmas 2012. We have the base figure of $105 trillion. There's 105 trillion cells in the human body, and we have a lot of other complexities that are involved in the selection of the number 105, which we will have a new presentation on black reparations later. We have the number 168. John Powell, a relative of mine who was white, settled the state of Virginia in 1608, 13 years before the Mayflower. So we have the number 168 trillion. We have 123, which is similar to 105. That has to do basically with, a gay number, 3 snaps up, 3 snaps down. And then we have the figure 315 trillion, which is the total amount of money that will be given to the 33rd dynasty of Amenhotep for his people. Now all of these numbers add up to the number 83, which is a Powell, which is also indicative of August 8th, 2008, when the heavens, all of the cosmos was made straight. It formed a straight line right here to planet Earth, and is known as 888 versus 666. As the Masons will tell you, as above, so below. The Earth doesn't wobble anymore, it spins just like a top. Perfect. Also, now, my mother was the Christian Virgin Mary as Isis. Mary equals a 12/26/1956, if you check on it in the alphanumerics of the English language, along with a 9/5 time zone birth ratio. You will also find embedded within the name Mary, the numbers 35 for Eric, 78 for Robert, and 83 for Powell, being that I'm her son. My mother's initials, BJP for Betty Jane Powell, equate an 8611 as well as an 862, which is my name reduced, as I mentioned earlier, as well as a 2516. Her initials are a 21016, which registers my name in the reduced digits just mentioned, and also equate the number 2516, which is reduced to a 7. The only number left in her initials is the number 2. So 2 plus 7 is a 9, which equates the first letter in the name Isis. Now, my mother was assassinated by her own sister and doctor. We'll get into her sister right now. Everybody calls her Sis. And this is the root of the mystery of the name Isis. My mother was a 9, Mary, as well as Isis. But Sis, Vivian Thompson, who lives in Virginia in the Four Corners section, where the CIA is very nearby, worked for the CIA. She's a lesbian also. And it was the homosexual Jews, just like in the assassination of John F. Kennedy, who killed both my mother and father. These people killed the Virgin Mary. And the Catholic Church is run by Jews, not Christians. And they're all homosexuals as well, as we read about in the papers, on TV, on the radio. They molest our sons, sometimes daughters, but mostly all boys, because they love boys, young boys. And they receive no penalty, and no shame or remorse has been shown by them. They're not arrested, sentenced to prison. They're just transferred to another area where they continue their operations. Let's see. Now, although my mother died of a heart attack and a stroke, Um, the stroke being a brain hemorrhage, and her face was extremely distorted. My aunt, during the funeral, in the funeral parlor in the home, asked me when we went over to the casket, doesn't she just look so good? The word good, first of all, is Egyptian. We'll get into that later. Now, within the name Mabus, and my mother's eyes were very tightly knit because of the pain that she was in, and her mouth, because of the tube that had stuck in her mouth while she was being rushed to the hospital and stayed in the hospital, was allowed to stay so long that it mutilated her mouth, her lip. Doesn't she look so good? My aunt also threatened my life and was involved in assassination attempts against myself. Within the name Mabus, we also have the number 97 for Amenhotep, and we also have the number 526, which represents 526 BC, when my twin brother, who in this life was my father, left Egypt for Canada, which we founded. That's another subject. Now, my mother's actual name was Elizabeth Jane Powell. EJP is a 5, 10, 16, which is a 105, 16. The 105 trillion, as I mentioned before. The 105, 16 is a 67, which is the name of Ishmael, as I am also known as Ishmael, the biblical Ishmael, and my mother is known as the biblical Hagar. For my father was Abraham. He tried to marry Sarah, who was a Jew. He was not a Jew, he was Egyptian. But the Jews forbid interracial marriages. So when my father went to marry Sarah, her elderly mother told him, no son of mine is going to become heir with this man. So they had to break up the engagement. Now, also, we have, we also have, wait. Okay, we also have, right here, give me a second. I got so many notes here, it's unbelievable. Excuse me. Okay, we're gonna break and go to part 3 of Nostradamus' Mabus, identified and defined.